Thanks for joining us for part two of Ivory Egg's Introduction to Invisible Speakers and Cerasonar. I'm Ramesh Anagaraja. In the session one, we covered the traditional limitations and weaknesses of invisible speakers and how Cerasonar have addressed those and can now deliver a level of performance and stealth that's previously been unavailable from invisible speakers. And in this section, we'll be having a look at the specifics of their product range and discussing when and how you might specify those. I'm going to start with the Fit series, which is the entry level into Cerasonar technology. There are two models, the 1520 and the 2525. The entry level into a room of invisible sound is a single Cerasonar 2525. As you can see, it's a large model. It's actually got two drivers on it, so we can run it as a single stereo speaker. And in New Zealand, in very rough terms, that ends up being a $700 odd plus GST room at retail. The 1520 is a smaller diaphragm. It only has a single driver, which means it must be configured as a single mono speaker. So for stereo, we would need a pair of them, and that would end up being around about $1,000 plus GST retail for a pair. So very, very affordable entry into good quality background music from a completely invisible speaker. Obviously, the 2525 with the two drivers and the larger radiating surface goes louder and goes deeper, but other than that, sound quality is pretty comparable between the two. The Fit series is also moisture proof, so suitable for areas like bathrooms, pool rooms, spas, things like that. The next series we're going to have a look at is the reference series. So these are quite a big jump up in performance, and these are better than just background music. These are really designed for critical music listening applications and for media rooms. And they are one of the best invisible speakers you can get in terms of quality of sound. Once again, they're two models, the 4062, which internationally is Cerasonar's biggest selling model, and the Cerasonar 6062. Essentially, the technology is the same, but the 6062, you get a larger radiating surface, and you'll notice you've got four drivers rather than two. You'll also notice this black zigzagged surrounding surface, which is what they call mode control correction, which gives enhanced quality of sound over the Fit series. There are a number of other refinements as well. The 4062 has two transducers that can be configured as either a single stereo speaker, which would be about $1,500 odd a zone, or as a stereo pair or 5.1, 7.1, 11.1, however many you need for a media room. When you go up to the 6062, again with four transducers, it goes louder, it goes deeper, so obviously sounds better, and again it can be configured either as a single stereo speaker or as a stereo pair, and the approximate cost is a couple of $1,000 plus GST retail, so it would be either a $2,000 zone or a $4,000 zone for stereo in rough terms. We then move up to the Ultimate series. This uses essentially the same technology as the reference series, but in addition to that standard invisible speaker technology, it also adds a dynamic bass driver, the same kind of bass engine that you would expect to see on a 12-inch high quality driver. The technology used for the mids and upper is very, very similar to the reference, so the quality of sound through that is extremely similar, but as you can imagine with a 12-inch bass engine as well, it goes much louder, it goes much deeper. If you have a quick look at the specs, you'll see it gets right down to 35 hertz. The sort of bottom end frequency response you'd expect from a good pair of floor standing speakers. So once again, this isn't background music, this is high quality music listening or serious media applications. You also would have noticed that with a maximum SPL of 105 dB, these things go loud. So this will give your clients a really viable alternative to quality pair of floor standing speakers, but without any of the visual clutter associated with that. These can only be configured as mono channels. You can't run one of these as a single stereo design. So you would need a minimum of two, and in rough terms, a pair of these is going to be $4,000. They're roughly a couple of $1,000 plus GST each. For even better performance, you can add a subwoofer to these. And they do two styles of subwoofer. They do a truly invisible subwoofer, which would be the 6062 or the 9062. Now, the issue with these is, like any good high-end subwoofer, they go loud, they go deep, and they generate a lot of acoustic energy. So what that means is that you need to make sure that the wall that you're mounting into them is really well constructed so that there's no rattles or buzzes. And you also need to consider sound transmission. So for example, if there's a room adjoining or behind the speaker, which you don't want to hear the thud thud of bass, you need to put some sound insulation in the walls and make sure that the jib that's being used is a acoustically isolating jib. What we actually recommend, where possible, is you use one of the pre-boxed units. So this is essentially the same technology, but in a pre-built, high-quality enclosure, which has been optimized for the performance of these drivers. That vented enclosure allows these subwoofers to go louder, to go deeper, to be more textured, and to be more dynamic. So there's a big step forward in quality of sound, but also it stops the problems with wall construction and sound transmission because it's already in a tuned and closed casing. So where possible, this is much, much better. And once again, you'll notice they go, very, very loud and really quite deep. You'll notice, however, that these aren't a truly invisible design. They do have this very slim vent. Usually we bring this out just above the skirting board in the room. So for most clients, this is really a non-issue visually. But if you do need a truly invisible design, you'd go with one of the unboxed designs. All of these speakers have a full 5-year manufacturer warranty, provided they're installed correctly and provided one of the proper Cerasonar protection units is used. The exception to this is the 9062, which doesn't require the protection unit, or if you're using one of Cerasonar's amps, which have the proper EQ and protection for these speakers. The Cerasonar amp is something a little bit special itself. It's a very compact unit, 1RU high, half rack width wide. It comes with the rack ears so that you can mount either a single or 2 units within a single rack space. It's a 4-channel amplifier, 125 watts RMS, a channel of digital amplification, and it's network connected for configuration and also for control from third-party IP control systems. So let's have a quick look at the web interface. In the main menu, we can select which of the 4 inputs is routed to which of the 4 outputs. We can select the output level. We can actually monitor the output levels here, and we can also set limits. Here you'll see the limit setting. We can also set simple bass and treble control. We can set high pass or low pass filters, and we can set the frequency of those filters. If you want to get a bit cleverer, we can actually apply a parametric EQ, so we can really precisely tune the performance of the speakers to the room which they're in. So you've got 3 EQs per channel, and not only can you choose the frequency of the EQ, you can also choose the Q or the width of the equalization curve. So really quite a clever piece of kit. You'll notice here you can also select presets for each type of Cerasonar speaker, so the amp will then have the exact performance characteristics and EQ curves required to get the best out of that particular model. With the 4 channels, you can configure each channel to be either 4 ohm, 70 volt line or 100 volt line for commercial applications, an 8 ohm stereo zone, or you can bridge 2 zones or 2 channels together to get 250 watts into 8 ohms. So very flexible, not just for use in Cerasonar applications, but in commercial and other residential multi-room applications as well. Power settings, we can lock it permanently on, we can put it in auto, in which case it'll input sensor and turn on when required and turn off when not required, or we can 12 volt trigger it. And of course, you've got a network setting page to allow you to log into it and do what you need to do. If you have any more questions about the Cerasonar speakers, or you'd like a little help choosing the right speaker for the right application, just give us a call. We'd be very, very happy to help. Alternatively, you can have a look at the Cerasonar site, and they do have a short questionnaire which you can fill out to establish whether or not Cerasonar is right for your project. Thanks again for joining. We look forward to hearing from you soon.